re change re o mohau wa modimo hau ke kwetsa kaka o mohau wa modimo mohau wa modimo ke kwetsa haisale umpihlela haisale umpihlela ayalutlwa le next haisale umpihlela isali umpihlela hey kima la bofelo omuhau wa modimo ke kwetsa omuhau wa modimo omuhau wa modimo ke kwetsa
Thank you very much, Repiri. Watinta bafazi. Akiluku, wait. Watinta bafazi. Yeah, we have arrived. Watinta bafazi. Ke kopa engwe ya go celebrate basadi. Re fitlhile re modimo ra mogetse le mona ke re. So ke kopa mo lona mo a re ntsheng ntse re emetse re tlo go simolla. Akande ngasibona sinje.
Our lead, right? Don't be able to speak. You must feed us a link there. They send the link for YouTube. Let me check. actually, you can see this one.
Hey, kgotsa shoe. A re joineng.
Ja, maar inderdaad, ik ga en dan gaan we hem terugsturen natuurlijk. Die IP is gemaakt.
Dis 'n ding wat nou
A round of applause. Watinta bafazi. Watinta bafazi. Today we are here to celebrate a very important day in our lives. It is called the International Women's Day. And with the few songs that we started with, I would like that we start with the program of today. And thank you for honoring me in continuing with the program. As I've indicated, I'm Dineo Mango and I'm representing the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. And today we're going to have fun, right? I can feel it. I really can feel it. As we start with the business of the day, I just want to give you a bit of input in terms of why we are here. The International Women's Day, it's celebrated every year on the 8th of March. It's a global day celebration celebrating the social, economic, cultural, political achievements of women. This day also marks a call to action of accelerating women's parity. International Women's Day has been observed since the 19th century and is a pole characterized by rapid expansion and turbulence in the industrialized world. Women's oppression and inequality was spurring women to become more vocal and active in campaigning for change. Then, in 1908, 15,000 women marched through New York City, demanding shorter hours, better pay, voting rights. In accordance with the declaration by the Socialist Party of America, the first National Women's Day was observed across the United States on the 28th of February 1909. A year later, the International Conference of Women Working on Copenhagen approved a call for International Women's Day to campaign for women's rights. Now, annually, thousands of events are held throughout the world to inspire women and celebrate their achievements. Global web of reach, diverse local activities connect women from all around the world, ranging from political rallies, business conferences, and government activities, networking events through local women farms, markets, etc. I'm not going to go into it, but I think it's important to remember that where we are, we have far. There was a time where you would be in a hall with few women, And if you look around, the status has changed. It is important to acknowledge some of the change, even if not where we want to be. The Department of Women and Persons with Disabilities has a greater responsibility to make sure that we make a fruitful, intentional impact in the lives of women and girls. Change they apply for the future and the now. So we really appreciate that there's a time where we can sit and remember and commemorate that women come far to where they are today. It is really important to take that moment and sober and remember that the privileges that some of us as women we are experiencing today, they come far. If you are to look back into local activities in the song that we are singing, they remind us of our women heroes. And those are very important songs to remember because we're coming from a very bleak picture into the current picture that we have. We still have serious challenges in looking at the issues of women empowerment in totality. If you look at the issues of gender equality, if you look at the issues of gender-based violence. And as we speak about these issues, they become part of our comprehension. They become part of our competence in societies, communities that we belong to, that bit by bit the change will start to realize. Remember that these are very entrenched systems of hierarchy across the world. It's not across South Africa, it's across, we're talking centuries and centuries. So it's going to take systems again to really change the situation that we find ourselves in. But there is hope, isn't it? We're sitting alive, we are alive, and the only thing that will keep us going is hope, right? Watintabafazi. Watintabafazi. Before getting the overloads it is important I'm already taking over. Yeah, northwest, and then we will, yeah, you can also indicate so that we can move around as much as we can, especially the visitors. Simon,
thank you, Program Director. Good morning, everyone. Watintabafazi? Watintabafazi? Thank you. Mine is a very important task, which is to welcome everyone in this important day, which is the commemoration of women internationally. All the women in the world, we are commemorating them today. And I want to take this opportunity, as Program Director has indicated, my name is Simon Rasikalela, and I'm the Director of the Law Clinic here in Mahikeng campus. And my duties as well as the Director of the Law Clinic is to also promote women's rights by offering free legal services to indigent women and generally all clients. Now, as part of my duties, I want to welcome Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the Minister, who will join us later. Thank you. Then we will also be joined by Her Excellency Anne Lamila, the Ambassador to Finland, who will also be part of us. These are strong women, isn't it? Then in absentia, I would also like to welcome our VC, Dr. Bismarck Chobeka, who is our father in the institution. Also to welcome Prof. Ntebu Muroke, the Deputy Dean, Faculty of Economics and Management and Sciences. Welcome again to Ms. Dineo Mako, our acting DDG for Monitoring, Evaluation, Research and Coordination from the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. Then would also be joined by Ms. Makotso Muilwa, Director, Mink Advisors. Lebukhang Mutiba, Director, Stakeholder Management in the Department, Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. Ms. Palisa Macheke, Ms. South Africa, Lunalim Masibutsana Waruna even today. So we've got strong women in our midst. Then we've got officials from Taletso TVET College, but also all the women who are in this hall. Watinta bafazi? Kastwana rarbahe chudin chadi bofilwe. Northwest University, as our slogan says, it all starts here.
Another round of applause. I just want to remind all of us that I know you have heard that there's also a discussion on another official language, which is sign language. So in the now is that we need to remember that amongst us, there are also people that either deaf or, I think maybe let me leave it at that in terms of persons with disabilities. So when we do round of applause, can we also by indication of hand to accommodate some of us who are not able to hear? Can we do another round of applause? It has to be a combination. A round of applause. There we go. Ra leboga. Re sa one re lebogile thata, ra amogetse. Mo montshegareng o ka tla wa itshola gore wa sa bofa dimpia tsa gago. But re a leboga ga o di bofile. As re Simon a re amogetse, ke kopa go lokisa phosonyana e leng nnye ke e dirileng. We also have some of the participants and the guests that are with us virtually. I want to acknowledge all of them and pass all the greetings of today's session to everyone and continue to say Happy International Women's Day to all. We will continue with the program as indicated. We do have fellow speakers that are going to be taking us through the conversation today, focusing on the theme, innovation and technology for gender. It is important as we that we now call for IR, what do you call industrial, that there's a lot of need to recognize that need to support us as women through the path that we are charging of women empowerment as well as gender equality. And it's important to, as technology disrupts, and I think all of us, we know, technology has disrupted our life. Whether it's social media, whether it's internet, now is what we call artificial intelligence. It has really, and it is disrupting our life. The question is, how do we use these systems, these innovations, to make sure that we also gain in terms of issues of economic empowerment of women and girls, as well as realizing better outcomes for all women and girls. So as we have the conversation today and as we commemorate the day today, is to also remember that we have opportunities through technology to improve our lives. And how then do we bring that? This theme is also aligned with the theme that is currently the theme of the 67th session of the Commission for Status of Women that is currently happening in New York. And we will continue with the celebration of the 67 through the consultation across the country, as we make sure that all of us participate and our voice ahead as we have discussions that should pave ways for women empowerment and gender equality in its totality. If we move with the program, I would like to then give the next session, which is more about context setting of the sessions today. And our first speaker will touch on women, technology, and the future of work. Is Dr. David Molapo, Chief Executive Officer of ICANN for IR Pty Limited. I understand that Dr. David is virtual. Can we just confirm that? Is he ready? Dr. David, the time is yours. Omoha oa modimo moha u wa modimo. There we go. Thank you.
Now, I want you to do something different right now.
Re kopa maitshwarelonyana re na le problemenyana ya go chika with Dr. Molapo. Maybe let's continue with the song while we get him on, because we just tried an icebreaker. I'm going to give it to the floor. Yawa,
Arnold, is he speaking? Is he speaking? Arnold? Okay, just trying to refresh. Yeah. Let me see. If the link's off. Okay, we just need to refresh. Maybe because there's a delay.
Thank you so much. Let's get another one. Watinta bafazi. How can we break into song? I'm going to speak the whole day, so I don't want to sing for you as well. Arring mo. Welcome, Dr. Malap.
Lion of Judah, we worship you. Lion of Judah, you are holy. Lion of Judah, we worship you. Lion of Judah, you are holy. Lion of Judah, we worship you, Lord. Lion of Judah, you are holy. Mamuri na sorrow. Mamuri hangina kucha. Mama papi benu. Chakage sensedi. Mamuri na sorrow. Mamuri angina kucha. Mama papi bendu. Mama papi bendu. Chaka ketese. Ria rapera.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause. Another round of applause. Ke kopa a re gopoleng bo mme Winnie, re gopole bo mme Charlotte, and then re tlo go tseya profo o tlo go re fa lefoko. Kana le nkgatlhile gore ke tlo go bua gona efe. Oya oya oya. Re a leboga. Prof, re tlile go kopa o tlo go re fa lefoko. Prof has been asked to speak to us on how to empower women in academia. In itself, she's the evidence of that, right? So we really are honored, Prof, that you're going to address us. And Prof is the Deputy Dean, Faculty of Economics and Management Science in the university here at Mafikeng campus. A round of applause for one of our biggest women in the room. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Ntebo.
Viva Basadi, viva! Viva women, viva! What in Tabafasi? What in Tabafasi? Good morning, everyone. Oh, is it good day already? Please allow me to observe the protocol by acknowledging people on the list. My colleague has already welcomed them. Let me just greet them and acknowledge their presence, and everyone also who is attending this event in person and virtually. It is my privilege that I'm taking part at this event, this very important event where women are celebrated internationally. I'm glad that I've been given a chance for the first time ever to at least say something during this important day. I'll be sharing some beneficial techniques or approaches with you that can help women in academia to gain access of positions to power, which are in power in the academic arena. Women in South Africa have come a very long way professionally, but they are still underrepresented in the key critical roles. The proportion of women in academia is like a pyramid. You know how a pyramid looks like? The proportion looks like a pyramid, and sorry about that. I love making example whilst I'm talking as well. with very few men at the top in the key leadership roles. Out of the 26 universities in South Africa, we have very few women who are serving at the top positions, like our vice chancellors. Previously, I think last year it was only 5 women, black women, who are vice chancellors amongst the 26 universities in South Africa. We continue to see a picture that neither reflects the demographics of our nation nor the demographics of higher education. In terms of headcount, there are more women in academia than we have men. And more women hold a master's degree as their highest level of education. In terms of graduations to PhD, and in terms of the NRF rating, that is the National Research Rating Fund, Research Funds rating, and in terms of the promotions, we see many men as opposed to women in those areas. And this is something that universities must really look at to make sure that we change the picture. Time for talking too much and not implementing the strategies and the policies that have been implemented regarding this is up. It is time now to do the implementation, act up, and stop talking. The misconception that there are no qualified women to lead universities need to come to an end. It must be challenged. The highest positions regarded appropriate for women are those of deputy vice chancellors, the dean, or head of department. And in most cases, these positions are given responsibilities or tasks with extremely restricted authority. And in such positions, you find very few black women as opposed to people from other races. Once more, the majority of women work in support services, and most of these services involve just menial tasks, like preparing tea, being a tea lady in the office, and filing of documents, receiving the visitors, and so on and so forth. Those are very low positions, and it is time that women really are considered into higher positions, important positions. How does this strategy for addressing gender inequality vary from the apartheid era if we still have women doing those menial tasks? To create an impression that progress has been made with respect to addressing gender equity, data on appointments are often inflated to include women, particularly those from the black community. Although institutional initiatives to boost the representation of women in academia are growing, they usually center around growing the number of female undergraduate students rather than the recruitment and retention of women in top management. I'm not saying that it is wrong for universities to admit female students in institutions of higher learning. What I'm saying is that there is a little bit of a shift in terms of the strategies for exposing women in top management, because once the students have completed their degrees, they go into their postgraduate, and then they have their PhDs, and then what? What happens to them? There is no further plan for such female students. So what I'm trying to emphasize is that those women who have PhDs and are ready to serve as management must be considered for high positions. They must be prepared to serve in those high positions. Making any kind of substantial advancement by women is very difficult due to challenges such as structural hurdles, the conventional beliefs and norms, societal expectations, gender stereotypes, and the patriarchal ethos of many academic institutions. The gender gap is further exacerbated by the absence of female role models and mentors to help young ones. And according to my own observation as a female academic, I observed that more female students, because I'm a statistician by profession, and there were very few women or ladies enrolled in the field of statistics at the time. And because I was there, I believe that they looked at me as a mentor. And now the numbers started growing of female students who are enrolling for undergraduates, and then they progressed to the postgraduate degrees in statistics. And hence I'm saying that the numbers are likely to grow when they are female mentors in a specific field. Career advancement is further slowed down by the demanding roles that women play in the economy of caregiving and in raising children, as well as by burdensome administrative obligations. Also, female staff and students experience sexual harassment, or at the very least are far too frequently evaluated on the basis of their outward looks rather than their intellectual prowess, which discourages them from continuing their academic careers. That is very unfair. You should be evaluated based on what you are doing, not based on how you look. In order to advance female representation and break the glass ceiling, universities must first commit to develop, to promote, and be intentional about institutionally inclusive gender policies, such as affirmative action, flexible work environments, accommodating childcare, and sexual harassment policies. This approach needs a well-defined method to track, oversee, and assess the implementation process. Academic institutions should also implement gender-sensitive programs because they are essential for easing tensions between male and female colleagues. Even before young, academically inclined women enter the workforce, policies to create a safer and more opportunity-opening atmosphere need to be put in place. The University Management Committee should think of methods to initially improve the quantity as well as the caliber of women enrolled in the postgraduate, because a PhD is typically a baseline for, or a prerequisite for most of the senior management positions. The successful implementation of this plan depends on initiatives, including funding and research partnership opportunities, institutional capacity to administer doctorate programs, and effective supervisory procedures. Given that representation counts, mentorship programs designed for younger academic ranks and directed by senior female academics are a powerful motivator in the effort to draw more women. Another strategy to avoid seclusion and battle battling antagonism is to find and form partnerships with both women and men who are committed to the growth of women. Again, in order to discourage women from seeking higher paying positions outside of academia, they should be given equal and fair salaries to male counterparts, including all perks. The university management committee should and the gathering of gender data, while these measures to assist and evaluate their progress. An equal world is an enabled world. I want to emphasize as I draw to a close, this is feasible if men and women have equal access to opportunities and resources. If everyone has the freedom to pursue their interest, if there is no gender discrimination, if all types of violence against women and girls are bad, this is very possible. As women, we know that women are natural leaders. They lead differently from men or than men. It is crucial that they are represented in positions of leadership. Women are more innovative. They are more engaging. They are very resourceful. Women will relate with this. I'm talking to women here. And they are also transparent leaders. Women are very transparent. I want to challenge women to start a journey towards self-development, growth, to make time to themselves, and to create connections with their past, their present, and also their future. I also challenge women to mentor others and provide platforms to support each other in achieving their career objectives. Instead of dragging one another down as women, can we rather start admiring each other's achievements and work together so that we can be a better nation, and so that we can also grow the number of women in leadership, high leadership positions? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity that has been granted to me to just highlight some of the few strategies that might work, given opportunity, if the universities can maybe implement them to ensure that women have access to the positions of power. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Ntebo. Viva, Prof, viva! Matla! Aowa, ga tshwanela rona ao. Matla! Ka nnete? Aowa, ga sa rone ao. Matla! Nyaya man. Matla! So, I'm quite sure in the next registration we're going to have more women taking science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, because those are important to even drive the decisions we want to drive. Matla. Matla. Awa batho nna re kgathetse. Re lapile. Huh? Ha ra lapa. Re batla go continue. Viva International Women's Day, viva! Viva International Women's Day, viva! Ke a leboga. Re tla go tswelela ka program ya rona ya letsatsi. We're going to take Maybe if I can just get an indication from our colleagues. Can we proceed with the colleagues that are virtual? Not now. So we'll continue with our program. Re lebogang. The next program is the program that you will be assisting us with. We wanted to have a moderated session where we look at how to ensure meaningful connectivity for women and girls beyond access, analyzing the range of barriers of meaningful access and use of digital technology, as well as access to science, technology, in mathematics education. To look at the importance of promotion in the digital age, how to ensure that one behind from the digital transformation. It's really important that we don't leave any cost behind, because then we run the risk of when we reach there to realize that it's only one. You know, when we all prosper, it's good for all of us, right? If only a certain percentage of a population prosper, it's not good. We start to have what? Envy, jealousy, and all the other emotions that are not supposed to be there. So it is important that we bring every one of us. And the socio-economic of South Africa is also dependent on all of us, being able to access the resources to enable us to live better lives. It depends on women and men having same opportunities and being provided with fair labor market access so that we can then build on us as women. Relebogang, are you ready? Let's just do the last one as he's preparing to come in. Matla. Matla. Wait. Viva the men in the room. Okay, I'm going to try this again. Viva the women in the room. Okay, pitchy like your Matla. That's the right pitch. Re Mutiba.
Dumelang. Dumelang. Matla. Matla. Happy International Women's Day to you all. My name is Lebogang Mutiba, and I'm from the Department of Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities. And then today, as you know, Rikopane Fa to commemorate or to celebrate International Women's Day, which is celebrated under the theme Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. International Women's Day is all about equality. It's all about making sure that we are all equal as men and women. It's all about making sure that the system does not only favor but it also favors you as women. It is the reason that today we are commemorating this International Women's Day to explore the impact of the digital gender gap on widening economic and social inequalities. As much as there's issues such as your gender discrimination, issues such as your patriarchy, which is a system that is making sure that only men are preferred by the system. Women also face challenges like your introduction of technological innovation. We all know about the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Do we know about the Fourth Industrial Revolution? Now when we go to things like your McDonald's, do you still interact with people, or do you just go to a machine and then be able to order what you want? And then the only interaction that you'll have is when you collect your order. Have we seen that? Yeah, so now we want to explore that, and then we want to put on the spotlight the importance of protecting the rights of women and girls in digital spaces and addressing online and ICT facilitated gender-based violence. I agree, gender-based violence is not only physical. It can also happen on virtual spaces, whereby you go on your social media, you get bullied. You try to open your account, trying to maybe promote some products, you get bullied by people, some of them which you don't even know. So as a result of this session, we want to see today, Rachel here, agree we're part of the world. So we want to see ourselves coming out of here, coming out as a world or as a society that is able to make sure that women are being afforded the same equal rights and opportunities as men. That's what I was saying initially. We want to see an environment where all people coming to the realization that they have the right to be valued, respected, and receive ethical treatment, irrespective of whether you're a man or a woman. We want to see a world or a country and a community in which women are afforded equal opportunities to make the most of their lives and talents, and to make sure that no one has poorer life chances due to their background or status. I agree all of us were all coming from different backgrounds. So whether I'm from a poor background and you're from a rich background, it shouldn't determine our future really. All of us were here to learn, we're at a university, we're getting the same education. Am I right? Or maybe bahumi bana le tlase ya bona, ba di bana le tlase ya bona. Are we not reading the same textbook? Yeah, so even our outcomes should be the same. So we also want to make sure that we are having a world or a country and a community in which women unite, not only to celebrate the achievements of women, but to continue to call for action supporting greater gender parity. We also want to see increased action, visibility, and celebration of women who make a difference through achievements. It's only through celebrating the achievements that you attain as women that will encourage you to can achieve more as women. So in our panel today, we are going to have 3 speakers. One of them is Miss South Africa. She is in Rustenburg. We are having a parallel event happening in Rustenburg, but I'm not sure with the technological challenges that we have, whether we're going to have her live or we're going to have her recorded speech, but we'll check with our colleagues in Rustenburg. We're also going to have our colleagues from the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development also talking to us about how technology affects their space, which is agriculture. We are also going to have the Director of Mink Advisors, that is Me Makgotso Moilwa, also talking to us about how do we ensure that we leave no one behind from a digital transformation, looking at the future of work in the digital economy and the underrepresentation of women in key emerging technological sectors. For now, we're going to give Mayor Barati from the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform to can come and address us on the importance of promoting quality education in the digital age for girls and also for women, covering both formal and informal education, and reskilling as well as digital tools and learning environments. I know that there is a program that they are having with NARISEC, trying to train young farmers to make sure that they are technologically savvy, to make sure that they use technology to their best advantage. Let's give a round. My apologies. I'm just recovering from flu, so my voice is disappearing as I speak. Welcome, Ms. Musiapo. The stage is yours.
Mare le didimetse jaanong wetse ke kopa gore le nna le ntshwareng ka matlanyana. Wathinta abafasi, wathinta mbokodo. Ai mare nna ke lotlo wetse ene le nna ke tla tloga ke be ke re borre ba ba nang le rona program director o lekile go bua le rona rotlhe mara e ka re ha re utlwane. Le se ka la tshwenyega ke mme ko office normal ke bua le bone ba re be ke re no le tla bona re Barati le ene re le bo program director once address me as re. Good afternoon everyone. Thank you the program director. Protocol observed. Lina laka ke Barati Musiapoa. I'm representing the National Department of Agriculture, Rural Development and Land Reform from the province in the Northwest in the Mafikeng office. I'm currently doing monitoring, evaluation, and analyzing the programs in the department. Let me take this opportunity to thank the women and youth and persons with disability who had invited us to participate in commemorating under the theme Digit All, as my colleague has already indicated. Although we participate here today, it must be noted we are the national department and we participate in all government department activities. Then it is not wrong for the department here to have invited us. The department, we advocate supporting and empowering youth and women in our office. And when they see me, they call me Ma Women. Abang bona fela mo passaging pario Ma Women. Today bani ba mpotsa gore then purple if you follow the theme that I have sent and shared with you, you will understand. And we ensure that women are being supported in the program of women, especially in farming space. The department, we have a program called NARISEC. NARISEC is National Rural Youth Services Corporate. It is one of our programs that is aimed to equip women with skills and ensuring linking them in work opportunities. Our program started in 2010. We recruit mainly youth from rural areas across the country. After recruiting the said youth, we send them to SADF. SADF, South African Defense Force. Gore ba ye go ba tshwara ka force. A ke re relax the rona youth. And ga re relax the yalo, then the department decided gore ba bone gore ba re ise ko SADF to ensure that we are taught and we are being firmed to ensure that we have youth leadership in training for the period of 3 months. For that period of 3 months, we ensure them, we teach them how government operates. We ensure that we promote the good active citizenship and we enhance their discipline within ourselves as youth. The following phase, it will go to move them to the skill development phase. And therefore, the last one, we will link them in job opportunities. NARISEC has long identified a need to provide youth in ICT, the one that we are here to digit all about the theme of this year. To this end, we have trained 289 students, youth, whom 155 of them are women, and they qualified in 2021 and 2022 financial year. The said youth were mainly trained in IT, technical support qualification. Many of them are currently providing electronic device repair, restoring services in their communities, such as computers, laptops, and mobile gadgets. When I'm out there in the farm to ensure that our farmers take their responsibility and account for everything that we have given them in the department, I no longer take the paper. We are going paperless throughout. I only take the laptop and I take my cell phone. I do reports when it comes to monitoring. And I just look into my cell phone, I punch the information there, and immediately I send it out after my farmer has signed out that what we have discussed and what I have seen here is working and is true. And immediately when I send it out, national office and the provincial office, then they get the report. No need for me to go back to the office and sit for another 3 weeks without submitting the report. Subsequently to the training of youth, 60 women youth are placed in ICT centers that have been set up by the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform in all the 4 districts in the province. The centers are aimed to bring ICT services closer to our rural communities. Why closer to our rural communities is because our youth, after they have passed, like Prof has been saying here, she's expecting you to enroll in another faculties like your digital or your computer, whatever. Focus all the time, but good really. Bana ba rona ga ba fetsa, they stay mo ditoropong. They don't go out back home to give back the service delivery. Thuto e batsadi ba re fileng yone around gore re be re le mo di university. Bana ba rona, they no longer want to go back, Prof. We don't know why. And batsadi ba rona ba tshwantse e nne bone ba gola ke re ra itse gore Telegram e replaceitswe ke WhatsApp. Telegram e replaceitswe ke WhatsApp akere. Ha re sa kwala e ya ke gorogile. Le kwala dilo tse dingwe tse di khutshwane English e o kre na go ile re tlhakanya tlhogo. But with digital, I hope we will learn and teach our upcoming young girls, women, to ensure that they write a proper English. The digital devices, especially within NARISEC, we ensure that our students pass and we assist them with job opportunities. When you enroll in the university here and then you pass, you come to the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development and Land Reform. We are there to assist. In conclusion, the department through NARISEC branch, the province is currently negotiating with National Electronic Media Institution of South Africa, NIMSA, to facilitate the training of youth in gadget repairs. These services are not available in most of rural areas in the province, and people from the rural areas must pay for the traveling costs to come and repair their cell phones around here. Then we have placed those individuals within the rural areas. After we recruit them, after they have passed, they go back home. No need for Chining, sorry to say that. No need for Chining or Makulem Batore Bakanyes. Honale bana ba NARISEC by Lenhore. They are placed in different district, local municipalities by Lenhore Bakari Tusa from them. Hakitswala Program Director. This is the International Women's Day. And even in Botswana, while I was seated there, they were saying our theme is the same. Watinta bafazi, watinda mbogoto. Kelebo.
Thank you so very much, Mayor Barati. Aramtlabeleng hape, please. Okay, just to going back to the theme, there is a sub-theme. It says embrace equity. So we want to get the world talking about why equal opportunities aren't enough. So we need to be able to differentiate between equality, what is equal opportunities, and what is it that when we're referring to equity. But we'll come back to that. Just keep that in mind to say that there's a difference between equality and equity. So we are embracing equity. So we don't just want you to be, for example, participating in the 4IR space, but you must participate meaningfully. So now, to join us on our Zoom link, we are going to give to Ms. Makgotso Muilwa, who is the director from the company called Mink Advisors. She is an ICT giant in her own right. She will maybe talk to that as she speaks. But now she's going to talk to us about the importance of she's going to talk to us about how to ensure that we are leaving no one behind from digital transformation, looking at the future of work in the digital economy and the underrepresentation of women in key emerging technological sectors. Let's give it up to Me Muilwa. She will be joining us from Zoom. We can please log her in. So part of today, we just wanted to show that really with the fourth industrial revolution, there is nothing that is limited. You can, at one stage, be able to link Mafikeng, link it with Rustenburg, link it with Johannesburg, also link it with Cape Town, because we have participants who are sitting in Cape Town, we have participants who are sitting in Rustenburg, we also have participants who are sitting in Johannesburg, and then we have ourselves here in Mafikeng. Okay, I can see that she is talking. Let's just give it to our technicians to link her in.
As the utility of infrastructure, it's content. Now, you have to have an environment where your content syncs very nicely with your infrastructure. So the idea that schools must be connected, institutions of higher learning must be connected is absolutely pivotal. But it is also true that homes must be connected, because we know that research has shown that when you transpose the educational environment, the schooling environment into the home and back, you create a seamless loop where you create education as a culture. And when you do that, you see the greatest success. So it's quite critical that we do that. And then if we get that right, we most certainly will get right the question of technical skills being transposed to kids, and more especially to young girls. The government is talking about, in fact, has made moves significant moves around introducing the concept of coding and robotics. And that has been, for me, was a complete point of excitement, because it's something that we have been advocating for in my past life within government as well as outside of government. It is critical to do that. What is not so, what hasn't been so clearly promoted, and that we're starting to see, again, I'm glad to see that, is the instilling of these skills as low as possible. In other words, not just looking at high schools, but also looking at instilling those skills within the primary schooling level. My departure from government has been what has been my. So I represent with a number of technology companies from that in platforms are being merged with textbooks, so that computer science is being taught from as early as grade 1 all the way through to grade 12. So that project-based learning is being taught all the way from grade 1 into grade 12 and all the way through, obviously, into the tertiary environment. That is absolutely important. The focus, and it's not just South Africa, it's been worldwide. There's been in the past a big focus on bringing in computer science elements at high school. And the reality is that there's a lot of kids we miss, we lose in the mix. But if we can get them, if we can get our curriculum set up such that we teach from primary school, computer science from primary school, project-based learning from primary school, all the way into high school, at least when we get to defining that concept of workplace readiness that is in policy, we know that we have created a base, people who have a base that they can then, even if they drop out at grade 9, grade 10, they're able to do something in the future of where the world is going, as opposed to what was currently happening, where they were dropping out, but they didn't have the requisite skills for the workplace environment. It is then also quite crucial that the private sector is mobilized in such a fashion that we create an ecosystem where we are able to reach each and every child. I am aware, and I've worked on a project where the likes of Accenture, the likes of ASC's Mining Development Trust, the likes of Vodacom are working on a digital platform. And this digital platform is specifically targeted towards your quintiles 1 to 3. So we're talking about the under-resourced and the no-fee paying schools. Those kinds of initiatives need to be encouraged as much as possible, because if we continue on the trajectory that we're on, we're going to create a bigger digital literacy gap. And so it's important that we mitigate that gap. And it also speaks to the stability of the country, because you're talking about 62% of the schooling population, if you look at the stats from the Department of Education. While we're doing that, we need to also motivate for educational gaming that encourages women, and especially girls of Black and brown skin, like myself, to be immersed in the world of technology. I'm in touch with, I work quite closely with creators in the US, in New York and in Washington, for example, who have created gaming platforms specifically for Black and brown girls. And it's amazing when you look at the stats behind it. These girls go in and they immerse themselves into this world. They create an avatar and they go into this world and they start to interact. They go to Mars, they go they go underground and become miners. They are able to simulate that. The entire program is able to simulate them and incorporate them into these worlds so that they can start to see that they are able to participate, that it's not an illusion, in terms of a future career. And a lot of them come out of it, have come out of those trials actually saying to us, oh, wow, I didn't know that this is what science and technology meant, or this is what science and technology can enable me to do. I thought it was just engineering. And it's quite important that we debunk. It made us realize that there's a lot of myths that we need to debunk away from our Black and brown girls. And we need to actually be closer to them to understand why it is that they don't immerse themselves in these worlds, in these subjects, why it is they're not important. The question of what happens when they leave the home, when they leave the school to go home, we realize when we track the stats in terms of the platform that I was talking about that we're putting together, we find that when you try and broadcast lessons, for example, at around 6 o'clock, we see a drop in the attendance of females. And when we started to probe, we realized that that is the time when they're making dinner, they're washing clothes, their uniform for tomorrow, they're getting ready for the school day tomorrow. And so they miss out on the many opportunities and the many technological platforms that can assist them to go further in terms of their education and more especially in those somewhat abstract subjects such as science and technology and mathematics. And so these sessions, we have had to pivot that program, to pivot it so that it accommodates those particular timings, or you make multiple sessions so that they can then log in either at a later stage or at an earlier stage, and they can still get the extra tutoring, the extra help, the extra support that they require. So there are many dynamics when we're talking about girls. There are many dynamics when we're talking about Black and brown girls like myself, and then even more dynamics when we're talking about Black and brown girls in rural environments versus urban environments, versus peri-urban environments. But it is possible. The day we can get to a point where coding, robotics, agriculture, technical agriculture, or let me put it this way, agri-tech, or in other quarters, it's also called precision agriculture, where project-based learning, all of those elements are actually imperatives in a curriculum. We will start to see the dial change. That's number one. Number two, the day when we get to a point where we agree collectively that the reality of the future of work is not in the future, it is actually here, is the day when we will start to move the dial, because we will come together to make it work and make this and effect the shift. There's research that exists that's been run by the World Economic Forum, and it in fact shows that by 2025, the scale will have tipped such that there will be a greater requirement of jobs that are future-based, so that involve creativity, science, technology embedded in there, as soon as 2025. So this notion that this thing is still coming in 2030, in 2027, 2030 is incorrect. We're going to be left behind, and we're going to be left with an even bigger unemployment problem. The research also shows that there will be a greater skills requirement. So this notion that infusing technology into education or into any sphere of life is going to reduce the number of jobs out there is incorrect. Technology is going to increase the number of jobs. The problem that we need to deal with, and deal with very quickly, is the fact that we need to pivot our skills output in terms of skills into the labor system and into the labor economy. We need to pivot that extremely fast, because it is already changing. If we don't do that, we are going to have a situation where the jobs that exist, the future jobs that exist in South Africa, in Africa, are actually being done off the continent. And that is a situation we cannot afford to have. So I am absolutely passionate, and I'm absolutely excited in the trajectory that government is taking. And I think Minister Motshekga has done a wonderful job thus far. What I would love to see is that it gets expedited much quicker and it gets pulled down into the primary schooling area and it becomes a standard throughout the schooling education. The misconception that we need to also tackle is that we are producing a bunch of computer scientists. That is not true. What is true is that every profession that exists right now is going to be underpinned by technology. And you can see this if you take a time to pick up the National Development Plan, you will see that there's reference and mention of technology on virtually every single page. Every single page. Whether you are a doctor, you will be using technology to do your job. Whether you are a nurse, you will be using technology to do your job. Whether you're an accountant, a lawyer, you name it. We're already seeing cases in Europe where people are sitting unemployed and they're lawyers. They're qualified lawyers, but it's because the system is so far that it cannot accommodate somebody who does not have technical skills. So it is quite crucial that we work it all the way backwards and start moving from an interventionist point of view and moving towards a more sustainable point of view and expedite that sustainable point of view intervention so that it becomes normal. The other thing that's very interesting that is going to assist us, and I'm seeing this come out quite strongly when you look at epiphanies between boys and girls, is that this content has to be, this technology trajectory has to be translated and transported into local languages. So you have to have a scenario where your coding and robotics can be taught in isiZulu, can be taught in Setswana, can be taught in Sesotho, can be taught in any language, Kiswahili, as opposed to just English. Because we need to also make sure that in advancing ourselves, we don't lose ourselves. So we are not going to leave any child behind. We must not leave any child behind. And most importantly, we must never, ever even think about leaving any black and brown girl behind. It's not possible. It's not going to work. It will never work. And I haven't seen it work. We must take an extra effort to rally behind black and brown girls and to make sure that they stand up and stand out and they explore this world. They don't just imagine it, but they experience it. The world of technology and education. It's that simple. And I will leave my talk to that. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Ms. Muilwa, for the talk that you gave to us in terms of ensuring that we leave no one behind from digital transformation, looking at the future of work in the digital economy and the underrepresentation of women in key emerging technological sectors. You spoke about what some refer to as the lack of infrastructure, to say that in terms of us leaving no one behind, we can't really hide around infrastructure. Because with the fourth industrial revolution, everything that we have, you have a phone, you can't be saying that I don't have a laptop. This is your basic laptop. Can't you get your notes here? Can't I have a textbook here? Everything, can't I type on my phone? I can have Microsoft Word on this particular phone. So the issue of infrastructure is not one of them that can ensure that no one is left behind. But even the digital devices that we have, the gadgets that we have, can actually be used to ensure that no one is left behind. And then, Ms. Muilwa, you spoke also about content, the importance of content in terms of digital transformation. To say that maybe my question there will be, what kind of content do you consume? Because remember that technology, as they say, it can either make or break a society. And that can be based on the content, the kind of content that we actually feed to ourselves, the kind of content that you engage with on a daily basis. Only online, what do? Are you on Facebook only? Or maybe are you trying to get things that will actually enhance your studies? Are you trying to get things like your Coursera, whereby you can be able to get short courses? Because what she also spoke about, she spoke about the need to keep on reskilling yourself. In future, it's not only going to be your degree that is going to be necessary, but even the short courses that you do. That's why it's important, or that's why it's easy also for somebody that doesn't have a 3-year degree, a traditional 3-year degree, to can participate in the space of 4IR. Because there are short courses that you can merge or connect up until you get a solid qualification. She also spoke about our policy directive, the National Development Plan, whereby in each and every one of it to ensure that, or to show that technology is important, every section of it, there is referral to technology. That shows you how important technology is going to be in the future. But most importantly, Ms. Muller, you spoke about what we normally say, to say that technology is going to take away jobs. But you actually dispel that myth to say that, in fact, there will be more jobs that will be created by 4IR than the ones that will be eliminated by 4IR. What is needed is skills. Maybe some of the technical skills, just to touch on a few. I found an article. Some of the technical skills that are going to be needed in terms of the 4IR. There's the cyber skills, there's the basic computer skills, which you all know by now that we need. There's the information technology skills, there's coding and programming, there's numerical skills, there's data security skills, there's data analysis skills, and then there's also your soft skills, that is adaptability, communication, creativity, cross-cultural communication and conflict management, emotional intelligence, flexibility, innovation, and interpersonal skills. So these are some of the skills that you can be able to infuse with whatever qualification that you already have. For example, we had Ms. Musiapo talking about the programs that they have as the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, to say that they are currently training young women in terms of the ICT skills that they need for them to can be able to participate meaningfully in the spaces of agriculture, but infusing that with a technology. She also spoke about them approaching the MICT SETA. MICT SETA is responsible for skills development, which are technology related, which are ICT linked. So you can already see that ICT is actually cross-cutting. You cannot be saying that I'm doing a BCom, I don't need ICT. You still need ICT. You cannot be saying that I'm doing law, I don't need ICT. You need ICT. Lockdown showed us whereby courts were had over Zoom meetings to show that we all need technology. Because at that stage, we couldn't all be in one physical environment. But judges had to be elsewhere, and then other advocates sit elsewhere. The accused, if ever there was such, had to sit elsewhere and then be able to can be tried on Zoom. So I'm going to stop there and then just check as to whether we have any question, because I'm told that our Miss South Africa is not able to join us. Miss Palisa Macheke, I'm sure she had other commitments, because we tried with Rustenbeck. She's not yet at the session. So we're going to skip her, but our discussions will then be based on the two. The presentation that we got from Ms. Musia, as well as the one that we got from Muilwa. We'll just open the floor just in case anybody has something to say. Anybody has a question that is relating to technology in terms of how it can better your life. It doesn't matter whether you are already in a formal, enrolled in a formal qualification, that is a 3-year qualification or a 4-year qualification, as it were. You can still have a question that relates to technology. So we'll just open the floor for any questions. It might be directed to Ms. Musiapo, it might be directed to Ms. Muilwa. And we can do that by show of hand. We can start this side. I see some contemplating whether, do I need to ask this? Is it important? I can assure you there's no stupid question. Every question is relevant. It might not be significant to yourself, but find that it's significant to another person. Going once? Going twice? Thrice and gone. Let's go this side. Do we have any question to the two speakers? Yes, we have a hand here in front. We also have a hand there in the middle. We'll start in front and then go to the middle. While this side is still thinking, because I'm sure people cannot speak that much information and you still sit here and say you don't have a question, unless if you're a genius. And then I'll want to check all your transcript, all of you, whether you are geniuses that you claim to be. Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
Okay, I believe you good day already. Dumela magaetsho. Nna ka leina ba re ke Kgomole Molekoko, ke emetse motsana o bidiwang Lekoko, ke emetse le morafe wa Lekoko. Ke utlwa mme Moila, all protocol observed. Thank you, sorry about that. Ke utlwa mme Moila bua ka lack of infrastructure. And I kere lo gatisa thata ka rural development. And rona youth ya rona kgotsa bašwa ba rona ba ba tswang ko metseng e kgakala le gaufi, technology is santse e le selo se se leng kgakalanyana mo go bone. They might have mobile phones and laptops, but what's the use of having a laptop and a mobile phone if you don't have Wi-Fi or internet to connect or data? So there's something eleng hore ke tlhoba boroko mo di rural areas. So sabase bitsa mare ke data or Wi-Fi or internet is quite expensive. It's an arm and a leg for not everybody can actually afford such. So that's one of the challenges that we have. Bana ba rona ba kgone go researcha, ha ba kgone go access information e ngata because o thola gore ngwana o na le phone mara hana data, hana Wi-Fi, hana any access to internet. So for her or him to have an access to such information, o tshwanetse gore maybe a create means sa go tla mo toropong. A tlo go bona gore a ka ema fo kae mo a ka connectang or a tla mo university mo a tla go connecta ka Wi-Fi ya mahala. O patetse taxi o boya ka taxi ga na le dijo tsa go tlhola mo a ja the whole day. Kore go santse re le kgakala ka go fitlhella dithuso tsa mofuta o for bana ba ba ko magaeng ba ba leng kgakala le gaufi. Di challenges tsa affordability ya dilo tsa mofuta o ke yona re na le bothata ba yone. So ne ke re le yona eo a shape ya gore go ka irwa yang gore bana ba kgone go nna le Wi-Fi tsa mahala ko magaeng or ko dikolong tse di mo gaufi le bona mo metseng ba tsenyetse di Wi-Fi ba kgone di fiber ba kgone go accessa yone information tsa mofuta di technology tse dintseng jaaka tseo. So ke a leboga because let's only phone nyana tse dinyane tsa matsatsi a di na le internet, but then without a fiber or Wi-Fi there's no connectivity, so you cannot communicate with the world, you cannot connect with the world, you cannot have an access to anything.
Thank you very much. Kesho Ms. Milo is sorry, but we'll come back to that. But just in summary, she's referring to the lack of infrastructure to say that, yeah, what about the rural areas whereby we know that in terms of the settlements, they are densely populated. How do we then ensure that data is accessible despite our location? Here we're talking issues of affordability, that's in terms of Wi-Fi or even fiber, sorry. Let's then go there in the middle. There was a hand in the middle. Okay, while they are sorting out the mic, I'm not sure, are we able to go to Ms. Mwilo on Zoom? Ms. Mwilo, can you hear us? You can take the question, the issue of accessibility in rural areas. Yes, we can.
those infrastructure gaps. So what you're going to find when that comes to,
Sis Mahotso, I think
to
we lost
light-
you.
Yes, Nat. Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, we'll go back to that. Let's check, is our mic okay for that question? Yes, go ahead.
Am I audible? All right. Greetings. My name is Riavetse Motsepe. I'm a third-year LLB student, and I have a question pertaining to the significance, or much rather the importance of technology in the legal fraternity. So, with us, our choices or options are limited, like when it comes to technology. We have cyber law, and I don't know what else we have, space law maybe, yeah, but we have cyber law. Now, where exactly does one go job hunting, for lack of a better word, for cyber law? Like, what platforms are there for such opportunities? Yeah.
Can I help?
Okay,
am I
thank you very
audible?
much. I'm not sure whether we're able to get Ms. Muila back, but while we get her back, I know she spoke about the issue of universal service area and access, which is the duty of one of the agencies of government to ensure that the under-serviced, they call them under-service areas in terms of ICT, they're actually serviced. But I just wanted her to expand on that. We'll try to see if we can get her. Then you're asking about something like your cyber law, and then asking in terms of where can you work if you're doing cyber law. Maybe let me, from a layman's perspective, that's what you say in law. In terms of cyber law, nowadays, because of the fourth industrial revolution, instead of seeing countries fighting like we see Ukraine and Russia fighting like this, there's also a cyber warfare that can be launched. For example, you find that somebody attacks a Standard Bank, the issues such as your ransomware, they can say that we have information of all your clients as a Standard Bank. I'm just giving that as an example. You either give us 50 million, or we are going to distribute all this information to people who are willing to buy this kind of information. So as a lawyer, maybe trying to prosecute somebody, suppose that person has been caught. As a lawyer, using cyber law, you'll be able to can use or be in a position to prosecute that kind of a person that are actually committing cyber crimes. Because cyber crimes are committed, for example, we are talking about the abuse of women online, whereby we spoke about, or we know of instances whereby somebody, there's what they call revenge porn, whereby somebody, you had your boyfriend, it was nice, you were sending pictures, your explicit pictures, and then when you split, then that person, maybe they decide to take your pictures, distribute them on the internet. That person can actually be prosecuted. I know that South Africa has passed a law to say that if somebody is found doing that, you can actually raise or open a case against that kind of a person. So as a cyber lawyer, you are able to deal with that kind of things, look at that kind of evidence like your videos and whatever that have been posted, and then be able to prosecute based on that. So that is not much of a train smash. You just need to develop more interest in terms of that. There's a lot that is happening. A country can actually host or hold another country at ransom. You find that a country like the US or Russia can attack another country's department. Just an example, our Department of Justice, they were hacked at some stage. And their hacking, it would mean that all information that relates to the court system, all information that relates to your child maintenance, that is one of the areas that we deal with, it's compromised. It can either be erased. It being erased, it means that whatever that was done before, it will be complete waste of state resources, because now the investigations that were done, they need to be redone before, or reinstituted, so that whatever information that was there can actually be there. So people who do such things are the ones that, as a cyber lawyer, you will be after in terms of prosecution. I'm hoping that will answer your question.
If I may add, that in terms of law student in this environment, there is the practice of law, which is the cyber law, and all of the big and medium firms already have divisions around cyber law. That's how urgent a matter it's become. But look at conveyancing, for example, the transfer of property assets from one person to another. That is already happening digitally. And that's a place where lawyers are playing as well. You can create legal software for whatever work processes there are. Because remember, as we teach skills, technical skills, digital skills that I was talking about, we do it so that we become creators of products as opposed to just being consumers. A lot of the digital software and platforms that we're seeing in our market right now are actually developed overseas. And then you must start thinking in terms of cyber law. Depending on where overseas it's been made, you start worrying about whether it's got back-end access, it provides back-end access to national security databases, et cetera, et cetera. So the interest and there's great interest in making sure as far as possible that what is created locally, what we use locally is in fact created locally so that we can close those loops. All of that all those issues around cybersecurity and cyber law are places where lawyers play. So there's plenty. Just give yourself time to look at what's happening globally in your respective spaces, and you will find that it's all there. It's also a very exciting field to be in. I'm born and raised by lawyers, so I'm quite in tune with the legal fraternity. It's a very exciting space to be in because it's also a new space, right? And as we select what we major in universities and what we go on to do as well, we also need to think from the perspective of utility after our studies. Cyber law is definitely one of those. Environmental law is definitely one of those areas. So there's plenty that you can do. Just take a little bit of time and just work through, even on the internet, and you'll find a plethora of opportunities. Do it now so that you start to align yourself in terms of your coursework and your internships before you graduate. It'll help you a great deal. Just to go back to the first question that was dealing with infrastructure.
At the age of 18 years, she could decide, and she chose to work as a domestic worker, but because the work was considered lighter. At that time, domestic workers didn't have many rights, and they were often abused by their hosts, raped, etc. So what Mina did, she started a domestic workers union, and by that she defended their rights, and eventually she became a politician. And there she could fight for women's rights in general. The next picture. So, Mina was one of those women that you see in the picture. They are the first female members of the parliament of Finland. They were chosen in 1907. So the law came into force in 1906, and it guaranteed the full political rights for women and men. And this was during the time when Finland was part of the Russian Empire. Before Finland became part of Russia, it was part of Sweden for 600 years. We were kind of the eastern province of Sweden. So we only got our independence in 1917. But what was important, why I am showing this picture about 19 women out of 200 that were chosen to the parliament. It's because it makes a big difference if you have women in politics, because they are the ones who change and who changed the situation in Finland. And Miina Sillanpää then got elected as the first female minister for social affairs in 1928. So unlike his male colleagues, he really wanted to know what she was supposed to do, what was the situation in the field. So off she went to the provinces to see different institutions where they had orphanages. She went to mental hospitals, to schools, to elderly people's houses. And what she saw was that there was a lot of poverty and there was a lot of bad conditions. Old people living in very cold houses, and their nutrition was not really there. It was not good. And so she knew, and then other women, and of course with other, they started to change the laws. Next slide. And this is where Finland stands today. For 5 times in a row, Finland has been chosen the happiest country in the world. So you might ask, how come is it possible? Certainly it's not the weather. Right now, when we are here with quite nice temperatures, in Finland, I guess we are in -10 in the south and -20 in the north. So weather cannot be a decisive factor behind the happiness. There's something else. One of them, and this is, of course, it's based on research, and this is a United Nations Happiness Index that I'm talking about. So there are several factors behind the happiness. Security, because we are a country that doesn't have much inequality. So they are not, in Finland, people who are really poor or really rich. Our rich are not so rich if you compare them with other rich people in the world. So equality is one of the factors. Also, trust in authorities. Believe or not, the authority that is trusted most in Finland is the police. And then, of course, the government, etc. Because of that trust, Finns, we have been called the happy taxpayers. We pay taxes, they are quite high, but we pay them happily because we get some service. So what we get electricity, we get water, we get schooling, quality schools, which is free of charge. We have a handful of private schools, all the others are public. We have universities free of charge. We have good roads, we have rails, healthcare for all, daycare, etc. So, and there is quite a good balance. There's quite good situation what comes to equality between sexes, gender equality. I'm not saying we are perfect, far from that. We do have our problems. Gender-based violence was mentioned. I'm afraid our country has that same problem as all countries in the world, as a matter of fact. And this is what I know, having served as ambassador at large for global women's issues and gender equality. No, we are not perfect, but we are quite well. The next slide. So, today, we live in a country where a woman can become prime minister, can become president. Our first female president started her tour in 2000, and she got a second term in 2006. So during the 12 years she served as president, she went to schools, and little boys, schoolboys were asking, oh my, do boys also have an opportunity to become a president? So that was the situation. for 12 years. But we really notice, albeit all the success we have had, we do have a real problem in the working life. So we have the pay gap, of course, and then that there are areas in which are very segregated. So in our case, majority of nurses and social workers are women. Men are still dominant in construction, engineering, and in that sense, there is a lot to do, and these seminars like today's are so important. Next slide, please. So why do we have segregated work life? It's that we all carry in ourselves attitudes, and many times they are subconscious. And I just tell you one example that I learned. There was a daycare center in Finland, and you know it's very cold outside during the winter. So there's a researcher group that comes to that daycare center, and they ask, could we please film your day to see if there's any difference in how you with boys or girls. And the daycare teacher said, well, of course, we know, we deal everybody equally, no difference. So yes, please come and film us. And so they did. At the end of the day, they were all watching the video. And what did they see? Comes the time for children to go out. So in Finland, you need to have warm clothes. So who got helped first to go out? Boys. Then comes the lunchtime. Who is getting food first? The boys. So even the teachers, they were, and then they were asked, so why are you always giving preference to boys? They said was, of course, that, you know, boys are very impatient. They want to go out first. They want to eat first. They are hungry. And they will make a big mess if we don't let them be first. As to girls, girls are patient. They can wait. So that's an example of an attitude, and I find it very useful because even I'm sure in this room everybody thinks that we think very equally. We are supporting gender equality, but in our subconscious mind, we might have these perceptions, and that's why it's really important to be conscious of them and to work with those perceptions, starting from an early age. And I'm very glad that last year my Minister of Education came to South Africa at the request of Madam Angie Motshekga, and we agreed upon having cooperation in the field of early childhood care and education. It's I think very important, also on teacher education. But it's very important to work with those perceptions, and of course early childhood care and education levels the ground for children who enter to the school, so they are much more prepared if they've been taught before their school age. Next one. I'm coming to the theme of today. So in Finland, in many countries, I think there is a challenge. certain areas like care industry are dominated by women. And there are few women working in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And in a modern world, we do need more girls in STEM, as they are called. And that's where we are also working with South African counterparts. Because I think you are quite strong in that. We had a big seminar during the COVID time, and we shared experiences with great South African experts on this. Next slide. So we are heading towards the fourth industrial revolution, maybe not so fast, but step by step. And I want to thank Dr. Malapo and others here in South Africa. Work is done in this field, and it's bringing its fruits. And lately in January, that's when I met with Dr. Malapo. There was a launch of cooperation between a Finnish company called Funzi and the ICANN for IR. And the goal is to reduce the skills gap that exists when a university or TVET graduate tries to get his or her first job. So Funzi has created an app with the help of which any person can develop his or her skills in IT, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, etc. So once again, I'm confident that in the future we will see more women learning those skills. And I already have learned a lot about how to do that, and I'm sure the rest of the day we'll learn something more. The next slide. So to put it into a nutshell, the experience of Finland, we feel that it has been extremely important to have women in politics, aside the men. But we also think that it's important to have different people in politics, not only, let's say, old men, but old women also, but also young women and young men, people in different stages of their life, because that's how we get laws that help everybody to develop. And then we need to, of course, to have women in all spheres of the society. And the nations really, they need brains of both sexes, all sexes, not just the male ones. And I was glad to hear today's interventions. Princess, let me say, what was your name? What she? Yeah, Motswana Molothe. Yes, you mentioned, and I think it's extremely important, that women really need to have the choice to choose. If they want to be mothers, if they don't want to be mothers, if they want to work in business or in politics, wherever. But it's not up to anybody else to say, no, you are a woman, you have to be with your kids and you have to give up your career. No, that's not, and that's how I interpreted your intervention. And another, Royal Highness Princess Pakosi Zulu, what you said is that women need to create associations to defend and advance women's rights. And I couldn't agree more. Economic independence is something that women need in order to make the change. And then there was Justin Magasha, who said, please, women, help other women. That's also a lesson for all of us to learn. And I'd like to cite the past U.S. Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright. She said, there is a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. So let's not go to hell, let's go to the heaven. And thank you for your attention. And happy International Women's Day.
Libongwe. Kannete. Huh? Matla. How? Kana ka manyane hle. Just another round of applause for Dr. Mulapo and Her Excellency Anne Lamina. We want to send our sincere appreciation for their time to join us in the discussions today. I want to really plead and ask you that you pardon us. We were supposed to be breaking for lunch. We ask that we continue with the last item of today, and then that when we break, it will then mean that the session has concluded. If you can, bear with us, and then we'll move to the next item so that we can then close for the day when we break for lunch. Just few announcements. I'm told somebody lost their keys and they are at the registration table. Just to remind all of us that we must sign the register. And that would really be appreciated. I just thought maybe just to conclude the discussion that we had, and I think Dr. Mulapo was very adamant to remind us that it's important to learn and unlearn. And those are very interesting words. There are things that we've learned that are hampering us from progressing. And it's important that we unlearn those. So in the world we live in, there is positive and negative, and it's important to identify them. And the ones that are benefiting you, you must continue to learn and experience them. And the ones that are not, you must be able to unlearn and let them and leave them behind so that you can be able to move forward. And I think in concluding on the session, what I appreciated with Ambassador is taking us a bit step back about the history of what is happening in Finland. And that's how we started. It's important to know where you're coming from so that you can also know where you're going. So the history shows us that the issues around gender equality, women empowerment, it cuts across. It's a global crisis. It's a global challenge. It does not only affect South Africa, although there will be unique issues that only apply to South Africa, but broadly the issues as they relate to women empowerment and gender equality affect every woman across. And I think the point that she's making, which is also linked to the point that Prof said earlier on, is that the women that are taking up on this leadership position, they are actually in a way providing us mentorship. They're providing us with hope that it is possible. So it's important to look up to them, follow them, especially people that you say, these are my role models. Look at what is it that they've done and how they move towards that space so that you learn and you don't have to start things afresh because somebody would have done them. They normally document them in their biographic documents, etc., etc. But it's important to also have mentorship. When you are fortunate enough to have somebody to mentor you, also give them your time. Because when people are mentoring you and you're not showing the efforts, it also disadvantages or discourages them. So it is important that we look into that. So as we're nearing the conclusion of the discussions of today, the next agenda item we're going to look into is the keynote address. and the keynote address is on digital innovation and technology for gender equality. I just thought to remind ourselves that it's important that as we have this conversation, we remember broadly around the embracing the equality, diversity, and inclusiveness. One of the things to emphasize is that with these digital technologies that we're talking about, we also want to see gender transformation technology and innovations, which also provide the potential to create a more equitable, a just by society by empowering women, promoting gender equality, and addressing systemic discrimination and inequalities. However,